Somebody submitted this video.
All-in-one platform to build your business online. You ready for some cyborg action?
So after making Ironmouse
Oh my god, this is the Zen video.
and Silverwhale, I thought it was time for a robotic boss babe.
And who would be better for that than Zendrea?
She's a cyborg VTuber from a post-apocalyptic future sent back in time to prevent the apocalypse.
So let's try to prevent doomsday a little more today and make her as a doll. The plan is to print the doll body, incorporate NeoPixel LED into the doll body hooked up to an Arduino, plus a screen in her visor for the signature look when she wears her helmet. I'm talking big here with no knowledge in wiring up LEDs, soldering, programming, and a D in physics when I went to school, but I'm gonna make this work and if it's the last thing I'm gonna do. So how about we start with the easy part? Okay, so this project is tremendous, ginormous, you might say. So while Blue Pixie is
I can't believe she took, man, this is like, because I think Zen's actually like lights up and stuff.
still sculpting on the body because that is a huge thing to do on this doll, I was so free to already print the head. So how about this time we start with the wig and the face up and the eyes. Let's do that. Alright, as you can see,
Guys.
I already prepped some light gray yarn rafts and a wig cap for Zen off cam so we can start the hot glue action right away. To make her signature short hair with long bangs, I start.
Bro, I bet you guys never thought you'd be watching ball jointed doll making videos. I bet you never thought you'd be watching videos about people making dolls.
In the back of the head and glue the first layer of wefts all around the head from one ear to the other ear. It's easier to cut and style doll wigs as you go, so I cut off a chunk of the hair right away and shape it with some sharp scissors before taking my
that's
mini
the bottom
hair iron
part.
and flick them out. I pull them in place and secure them with some got-to-be hairspray adhesive if necessary. After then, it's basically just continuing the same steps over and over again, gluing wefts, cutting and styling while going through the monk phase of wig making. In this case, Zen looked way too much like the grandpa from Viridian City. You just gotta trust the process here, because with more hair added to it, it definitely started to look more and more like her. When the back of the head was filled up, I start working on her bangs the same way and point cut them for a feathery look. And to finish off the wig, I glue a weft on top of the bangs and then flip it towards the front, taming it down with heat and then cutting and styling it in place, before doing the same on the back side of the wig, gluing, cutting and styling the last weft of the wig in place, and we have Zen's wig already done. I'm really happy how it turned out. Short wigs are always harder to make than long ones, because you have to cut and style a lot more, but thanks to my hairdresser friend Chris's advice, I'm getting a hang of it slowly. Okay, so wig is done, let's paint her face. I primed the face with Mr. Super Clear already and first add some pink blushing on her cheeks to give her a sweet, lively look.
Oh, she's gonna be so cute.
I almost forgot my micro glitters. How dare I? So I add a bit of them to give the skin a bit more of a glow, because everything is better with glitter in your life. Trust me. After sealing her a second time with MSC,
I can't
can
wait
then
to see
finally
how she
start
draws her
sketching out
eyes
the
and her
eyeline.
face.
To make it look really close to the original design of Zen, I kept a printed photo of her face next to me while painting it. After I was happy with the sketch lines, I can then finally go in with some black acrylic paint and my nail art detail brushes to fill in the lines. This is honestly my favorite part of the face up, because it gives the face so much life. Some people wonder how steady my hands are, but the secret is to rest them on the doll head or on your other hand and to paint without thinking of ruining it. The less you try to make them look good, the better they will turn out. Also, your paint just needs the right amount of thickness. When the lines were drawn, I then used some dark brown pastel chalk dust to blend the lines in a bit. It makes the whole face look a lot softer. And then we can finally draw the eyebrows. Looking back at the footage, I was surprised how I painted them in one brush stroke. Damn, I really had a run that day. And then I just fill in her cute smirk with some white ink I borrowed from my white Posca marker. Last but not least, we need more sparklies, so I add my favorite iridescent micro glitter as a highlighter to her cheeks. You want to add a bit more than you need, because the sealant likes to tone down the glam a little again. After one final sealing, I then just need to add some gloss to her mouth and lower lash lines using my Liquitex High Gloss Varnish. And with that, the face up is done and we can now make her eyes. To make them, I created a little vector graphic for the iris in Adobe Illustrator, printed it, and first cut it out perfectly round. Doesn't need to be perfect. Then, using my half sphere mold and the fourth biggest sphere, I take my UV resin and pour in some of it to the sphere. Then I take my tweezers and place the iris upside down on top of the resin and put it into my
And
UV
clear
lamp
the
for a couple
eyeball.
minutes. And then it's time to demold.
How did she get Zen's face printed, right?
Yes,
So, right?
a perfect eye.
I don't know.
Since the resin
I
seeped
think
a bit
she
through the paper,
had somebody
however,
help her
I
with
just
the
paint the
with
back
the
white
3D
again with
printing
my
of the
Posca
mold
marker.
of the
And
body
then
of
I
the
just
doll.
need to make a second eye the
I think
same
somebody
way.
actually
And then
did
with the
the
magic
design.
of editing, I insert the eyes into Zen's
Moonlight
face.
Jewel?
Okay,
Moonlight
wow,
Jewel
I
worked with that other
absolutely
person.
adore her
What's the other
face. She
person's
looks
name?
already
Blue
so much
something?
like her. Whoa! But now we have
It
to
looks just like
face
her.
the biggest challenge for this project. The body.
Look at
So
the
actually, this
smirk.
doll took so much time and effort to sculpt that Blue Pixie had
Blue
to send me
Pixie.
the pieces day by day because it took her a whopping 120 hours to sculpt this doll. But holy shit, was it worth it? I mean, look at all those details. It's just nuts. Thank you so much, Blue, for working on this together with
Wow.
me.
Blue
Without
Pixie,
you, I
you
could
are
have
also
never
the
made this
goat.
doll. You are incredible.
With the
You
upper
are
torso
also
blue sent to me
incredible,
first,
Blue
I mixed
Pixie.
some red resin that looks like forbidden strawberry sauce and set up my printer to print it. Yes, the file was called Zentrea Booba. My file naming is incredibly
Zentrea
professional.
Booba.
After a couple hours, the upper torso was done printing and it turned out incredible. Well, if these tatas don't prevent the
Whoa,
apocalypse,
look at
I don't
those
know what will.
titties.
Well, maybe you can prevent doomsday with a mind-blowing online presence. With today's sponsor, Squarespace,
Alright, that was a smooth ass transition.
you
What
could
the fuck?
possibly make a deep impact on that. With Squarespace, your designs will guarantee. If you're ready to change the world, check out Squarespace for sponsoring this
smooth.
video. And now let's get back into the cyborg action. This mic is actually a telescope flashlight that I stole from my dad.
Okay, so I had to fill up some little
Whoa.
air bubbles and stuff, and now I need to sand this whole piece before
That
we
is
can
so
get
cool.
to
What the
painting.
fuck?
So let's do that. That's gonna take forever. If you're a crafty person as well, you probably know that sanding is
She's
the public
sanding her
enemy number
titties!
one because it takes so insanely long, but is so
She's
worth
sanding
it
her
in the end.
titties!
With
Ah!
different grids of sandpaper, I sand down the whole upper torso piece until I am satisfied. Since the
Oh my god, look at that tit squish on the side.
red of the resin was more of a gummy bear color, I decided to buy Tamiya spray paint
Look at
in
that tit
metallic red.
squish.
I saw some results with it online and really wanted to try it. So I went into my dad's workshop to coat the whole piece with it, and you can really see what a huge difference it makes and how
Ooh,
pretty it looks.
yeah, it
now
looks
it just
nice.
needs to dry for a bit, and then it looked like this. And now the tedious part begins. I have to paint all the mechanical cyborgy elements on the torso black. I thought this would probably not take too long, but boy was I wrong. I had to be super exact with all the lines and used a small brush to not accidentally overpaint the edges, and it took forever.
Oh my god, she
This is
painted
taking way
all
longer
that
than
shit
I
by
anticipated.
hand.
Oh god, I've been painting
With
for
a
1.5
skinny
hours
little
already.
brush!
I think in the end I needed about 2 hours to paint all the parts on the upper torso black, and then added a teal stripe for the light on the neck piece as well. Since I can't place lights everywhere in the doll, I decided to cover all the painted teal parts with a mix of glow-in-the-dark pigment and UV resin.
Oh!
I'm gonna put this
Professor Orlando, thank you for the raid. I hope you had a wonderful stream, Professor. When am I gonna get to come assist your class, huh? I hope you're having a good day. Thank you for the raid. Hello, everyone. We're watching Zentrea doll get made.
on the UV lamp
That does not sound like English. We're watching Zentrea doll get made.
and then come back with lights off and see if it glows. It doesn't show as much on cam, but it really glows, and I think
Hey,
it's gonna be a
Mouse,
really
you said
cool
about
effect.
watching doll
This
videos.
is how the upper
I
torso.
think that's one of my favorite things about your streams, whether it's Sailor Moon, a deep div on why not to bleach your hair, or amazing Spanish music that I would have never heard otherwise. It's amazing to see things other people are passionate or about. I learn things I never knew.
That means a lot to me. Thank you very much. God, remember when I went on that rant about like hair and nail stuff? I went and started watching hair and nail
It
videos.
looked all done, and here I already printed the lower
That
torso.
kind of looks
and
like a wee wee. It kind of looks like a balls. It's Zen's titties.
sanded
It's
it,
her
and
titties.
just look at the difference.
It's not balls.
Let's speed
It's
up the painting
boobies.
process on the lower torso a little, since I can use some magic
Yo,
here
look
to
at
apply
that.
both the red metallic coating and the black paint on it.
Wait a minute. I'm just realizing how big is her doll? It's way bigger than mine, isn't it? Holy shit.
Okay, so both torso pieces are painted now, And Blue Pixie sent me the legs, and they are printing right now. So let's check on them if they are already done.
Oh, she's printing the legs.
It's actually done. Yay. Nice. With the legs printed on both my Mars and Saturn printers simultaneously, I then wash and cure them, and then we have to do the same old game here by sanding everything smooth. We have the lower legs in black, the knees, and the thighs, which are huge.
Holy shit, look at those
To paint a
massive
few little
thighs.
spots red on the lower legs, I have to mask off the areas on them first until they looked like wrapped ice cream cones. After successfully painting the legs red alongside with my hands, because I forgot to put on gloves, I can then remove the masking tape and end up with pretty metallic
nice.
red parts. Before deepening the black of the legs, I decided to paint all the teal parts as well and use my teal Posca pen for that. This was oddly satisfying because the ink of the Posca marker has a great opacity and covered pretty much all spots needed
Ooh,
immediately.
smart using a
Before
Posca
glossing
pen.
over the teal parts with glow-in-the-dark resin mix, I decided to paint the black parts on the leg first with matte acrylic black paint. And then I take an old small brush and apply the glow-in-the-dark resin mix to all the teal colored parts.
Ooh.
And here with lights off, you can see it also glows and
nice.
almost looks radioactive. I feel glow-in-the-dark stuff is becoming my new favorite thing. Meanwhile,
really
my printer was
cool.
printing
What
more
the fuck?
parts. Okay, these
Oh
are
man,
the
Zen's
last
gonna look so
pieces for the
good.
doll, except for the helmet. And I'm going to get these off the supports now and clean them up and yeah, then also paint them. You ready for some crunchy support removal ASMR?
Whoa.
Okay, that is the progress so far. I already covered
see it.
these with red paint and I sanded everything and then everything can be painted. This can be painted, the rest on the arms can be painted, and then I hope everything
Oh
is
man,
done
this is gonna look
we
so
can
good.
assemble and install the LED somehow. I have no idea yet how. So yeah, with the arms
I wanna
printed
see how
completely,
she
I
installs
began
the
painting
LED
these as
stuff.
well. I wonder why paint has the word pain in it. Is it because it was a pain to paint all the pieces because my back started acting up at some point? I don't know, but I really underestimated just how long this whole painting process was gonna take.
I love her. She's so
Once the teal
adorable.
parts were covered, I also covered the black resin parts with black acrylic paint again because it just gave them such a nice, deep and saturated tone.
Saw the thumbnail to the stream and thought you did a hand reveal. Not yet.
And of course, the glow-in-the-dark parts can't be missing either.
Not yet.
On her hands, it was almost like giving her nail polish.
Not
And then I
yet.
also covered the thighs with paint, teal and glow-in-the-dark resin to make them match with the
Not
rest
yet,
of the
not
doll.
yet.
And then it was time to prepare the torso piece for the LED. I decided to cover the gaps in the torso with a translucent teal vinyl from the inside, so I cut some shapes I mapped out before from the vinyl with a plotter machine,
Sweet.
then weed them out carefully and cover them with a so-called transfer vinyl that will help me to glue them on a non-sticky vinyl afterwards. For easier handling, I cut them apart before sticking them onto a thin transparent vinyl with the help of a squeegee. I can't get over that word, it's so cute.
Yeah, her tattoos are really cool.
Once I was done and all the pieces were cut out, I can then take my favorite booger glue and apply the sticky yellow slime all around the edges of the piece
Booger glue?
before very
Ew.
carefully inserting it into one of the torso pieces and sticking it in place. It was a bit tricky, but it fit quite well, and I was surprised it actually worked this nice. Now I do the same on the front part of the torso with the bigger vinyl piece and try to cover all the gaps for the lights in the torso piece before doing the same on all necessary parts of the upper torso piece. Before we can start assembling the doll, I still needed to give her some magnets in the wrist joints and hands, so I superglue them in place carefully. It is so satisfying when the magnets fit this perfectly.
Oh.
When gluing magnets, just make sure
She's
to not glue them
stuffing
in the
Zen.
wrong way around or the pieces will push away from each other. No, I do not speak from multiple occasions this happened to me. Alright, we have all the pieces now. Finished painting and ready for assembly.
Here we
and
go.
Before we put in the electronics, let's just string the arms and then we can work on the LED stuff. I'm scared. So yeah, for easier handling, I wanted to first string the arms, so I take a rubber band with the length of some bandy pliers. Wait, what are these called? Snipe nose pliers. Oh my god, they look like the little
Snipe nose?
doge.
Today How to make your own VTuber.
The more you know. I insert the elastic through the armholes first and then simply string all the arm pieces like beads onto a
Whoa.
necklace. Before attaching the wrist
How do you
joints,
even
I
begin to
secure
do
the
that?
ends with sticks. And then I can hook the wrist joints on with some small
at that.
S-hooks I made from metallic paper clips, remove the stick and have a finished strung arm. I just did the same on the other side and her arms are already strung and they look so cool. I'm really so impressed with the sculpting on
Whoa.
this. While I
It
was
came out
stringing
so
the doll, my
good.
partner was so kind to program the LED stripe for me.
This little fellow did the programming. This looks insane. This is
Whoa.
so pretty. Now we just kind of have to figure out how to install this in the doll, but we're gonna
How is
make
she
it
gonna
work.
get that inside
Thank you
Zen?
so much for helping. You're the best.
Before we can put the stripe into the doll, however, my dad soldered the stripe to a long cable that will be attaching the doll to the Arduino and will be long enough to hide the electronics in the doll stand later. Here we already drilled a hole into the doll bag and the LED stripe will just be a loop inside of the doll torso.
Now we wired up the doll.
Oh my god, it's up the
LED,
butt.
And now I'm going to try to string this.
So yeah, stringing the whole thing was not that easy because I had an elastic
up
going
her
through the whole
ass.
doll body and I somehow had to place the LED strap as well. But I did manage and it wasn't as bad as I feared it would be and I could then string
Well, I
both
mean,
of
they
the
had
upper
to plug
legs
up the
before
hole
securing the
somehow.
elastic with sticks and the help of my boyfriend because the tension of the elastic was really strong. Sadly, my camera died here, so you will have to wait to see the whole doll body until the big reveal later. Let's make her jacket, shall we? I already made a pattern for it and first cut out all the pieces from black cotton fabric. The jacket has some red
Oh, the
elements,
jacket.
so I cut out the graphics I made before in Adobe Illustrator with the plotter machine from red fabric vinyl. Then I simply need to weed out the shapes from the red vinyl and also the silver spine for the back of the jacket and the white font that will go
Oh.
onto the long ribbons on the jacket. And then we're ready to iron.
Okay, so first I
Hey,
have
that
to
doesn't say
iron these
Zendaya.
red stripes onto some red fabric, so the fabric
Who's
doesn't
on
fall, we
Troyo?
have nice red stripes. And then I will put the Zinshria on top.
With a
spelled it
heating press
right.
heated up to 165 degrees Celsius, I then
Who's on
press
Troyo?
the fabric vinyl to the red fabric for 20 seconds, peel off the transfer vinyl and then add the white Zentrea font. Press it on again, remove the vinyl and we have two really pretty ribbons.
It looks like a face. Why is it sad? Let's make it happy.
After having fun with the prints, I also iron on the red parts on the sleeves and collar of the jacket, peel off the vinyl and
I
end
can't
up
wait
with
to see
some
the
pretty
finished
pattern
jacket.
pieces. First we will need to make the pockets on the sleeves,
gonna look
so I
good.
take a fabric stripe that I already cleaned up on the side, then glue around the top part of the little pocket bodice piece and then pin the stripe around the bodice of the bag, finished sides in before hemming it in place.
She's sewing it all
Turned
herself.
inside out and ironed in place, it looks really neat. Before we can attach the pocket to the sleeve, I need
I
to
always
secure
wanted
the
to learn how
ribbon
to
with some
sew.
stitches.
It was just a
Awesome.
skill that I always wanted to learn, but I just
And now
never
taking my beloved
did.
Uwu glue, I apply it to the edges of the pocket and carefully glue it in
Hello?
place on the sleeve. Now just the upper pocket flap is missing. I already prepared it off cam and will now simply glue it in place as well.
Ooh, cute.
The pockets on Zentrea's sleeves have some small closures and buckles, so I cut them with my ACTUAL M1 from a PVC sheet and paint them with black and teal first. Then taking the little black squares, I am attaching a small tiny magnet to the inside like this, before gluing the upper part to the
Oh my
pocket flap
God.
with some contact glue. To place the lower magnet, I stick a second one onto the magnet on the pocket flap, apply some glue and then press it down to the back of the pocket. Now we have to place the black ribbons on the jacket.
So
I cut
much
them from some pleather
detail.
and place them onto the sleeves like this and will secure them with a couple of stitches on the seam allowance. And then taking the teal buckles, I gloss them with glow-in-the-dark resin as well and carefully glue them on top of the stripes like this. Let's also prepare the collar. First I glue around the upper seam allowance with my Uhu Alleskleber.
Woohoo!
And then attach some small belt loops with some black ribbon I had still laying around. I don't
The
want
tiny
visible seams,
pockets are
so I glue
functional?
them.
Whoa.
And now we can finally take the bodice of the jacket and first attach
not
the
just
collar
like-
to it. Awesome!
It's not just
Before
for show.
sewing in the sleeves, I will iron on the
Ooh.
print on the back of the jacket and will simply use my regular iron for that.
Okay, I'm gonna iron this on now with my regular iron. Like this and hope it works.
It actually worked fantastic, so I can now sew on those big
Wow,
sleeves onto the
that
jacket.
looks so
finished
nice.
Sides in. Awesome. Let's also fast forward
That looks
to
really
the finished
nice.
sleeve and side seams. It looks so nice already. I also glued around all seams of the jacket already, so we can now attach a zipper to the front as well. This time it's not a working one because the jacket is not closable because
You
of
look
Zen's
nice.
big personality. Zen's jacket has shoulder pads, so let's make these next. I decided to cut the pattern from some EVA foam and first apply some contact adhesive to the seam lines that I need to glue together. After waiting a couple minutes for the adhesive to dry, I then carefully glued together the seams as neat as I can. To cover up any gaps in the seams, I decided to fill them with some quick seal, or in my case simply acrylic from the hardware store. And when that was dry, I applied contact cement on both pieces so I can glue them on top of each other faster than I wanted to.
Oh, no, not so fast here.
It worked out eventually though, so that I then can take my soldering iron to burn some lines into the foam to give the shoulder pads some more dimension. It worked like a charm and it looks really cool, I think. Instead of plastic dipping the foam pieces
Wow, that
this
looks
time,
so
I
good.
decided to use
I
some
want to
soft
see the
UV
final
resin to
product
seal them
already.
off.
I'm so
This way they will stay
intrigued.
flexible but also have a nice smooth surface for the paint job later. After curing they look like this and are now ready to paint. I first used my Posca marker again to paint all the teal parts before going in with black acrylic paint to paint the remaining parts with it. And for the finishing touches I also used the glow-in-the-dark resin mix on the teal parts again. Last thing to make are the little collar belts. I already cut them in shape from pleather and now
Is
simply
this for a
insert them
pet,
into
dog,
the
or
belt loops of the
cat?
collar and secure them on the
No!
back with some uhu glue.
She's making
Then I just
something
paint the little
great.
teal shapes onto it in the front and then use some magnets to attach the shoulder pads to the jacket. This way the jacket will be easier to take on and off because the shoulder pads are quite stiff and in the way, but this way it makes it a lot easier. And with that, the jacket
For a
is
pet
finally
poster?
done, and I'm honestly so proud of how it turned out.
You
A
are
friend
so
of mine
fucked
said
up,
it looks
bro.
like a real human-sized jacket, and I'm happy
Wow,
it seems to
it
have
looks
turned
so
out this nice.
good.
Okay, time to make one of the most challenging things for this doll, the helmet with the screen. And let's start by trying to make a visor.
Okay, so Zentrea's helmet has this visor, and in order to make that, I want to vacuum form plastic, and for that I kind of have to build a vacuum box. So I asked my dad, and he was down to try it because he likes tinkering with things. So let's build that box and make a test. Okay, let's go.
In order to build the vacuum boy, I wrote vacuum boy. So in order to make the vacuum box, I first laser cut the top of it from some plywood and put in a bunch of air holes.
It's done!
It turned out perfect, I just need to remove all the little stuck parts from the holes. Meanwhile, my dad started sawing the rest of the parts for the box from some foam board leftovers. He also drilled a hole for the vacuum cleaner to attach later on, and
Man,
then started gluing the
handy
box
dad.
together with epoxy glue. When the box was assembled and dried, we then screwed the top plate with the
What
air
is the
holes on
box
top
for
of it.
again? Is that for
Now I
her to
just needed
stand
to
on?
laser cut 2 frames for inserting
that where all the
PETG
electronic stuff
sheets
is gonna
later
be?
on, and cut these again from some plywood because the temperatures won't be too high later for the wood to catch
Oh,
fire.
vacuum molding. Vacuum forming.
This is how the frames look like after
Plastic.
lasering, and here is also the finished box.
Ooh.
To hold the frames together later, I will use some metallic office clips.
Okay, so we
Oh,
have
for the helmet.
vacuum forming thing that we built, the little box and the frame. And I already put
Oh my
in the
God, so
little
much
PVC
stuff.
sheet. And we're gonna heat it in the oven now, and then hopefully make a vacuum thing. Oh, I haven't shown you the visor. Let me get that. Okay, so this is the visor. I already primed and sanded it, so it's nice and smooth. And yeah, let's see if we can make this work. Oh my god, I'm so scared that this is not gonna work out and that I have a problem. Ah!
After we put the plastic in the oven and it started to bend down like this, it was time to take it out, turn on the vacuum cleaner, and vacuum form the whole thing. And it freaking worked! I screamed in happiness. In the end, I ended up making a couple of visors because I
Nice!
still needed to tint them black, which was another thing I never tried before, and I was scared to mess it up. For the tinting process, I got some iDye Poly synthetic dye in black, throw it into a pot, pour boiling water on it, and stir it until the bag is dissolved.
I made a couple more, but this is a trial, so let's see if this works.
So yeah, I carefully dunked the visor into the water when it was cooled down just a tiny bit, and yes, you can see and hear it actually worked.
Wow.
Nice.
That looks cool.
Here's the difference of the tinted visor versus the clear one from before. It's so cool, yay! I now just have to cut off
Wow.
all the excess and wait for the final pieces to print on my Saturn printer so we can build the helmet. With the pieces cleaned up, I then also paint them the same way as I
This is
did on the body.
insane.
First,
The
adding
amount
the
of
teal
work that
parts,
she's
then
done to
painting
do
everything
this.
black, and finally finishing up the pieces with the glow-in-the-dark UV resin mix. And then I can finally attach the visor to the front of the helmet and carefully glue it in place with a small amount of hot glue. And then it's just the backside of the helmet that also needs some painting love as well. To make the screen, my boyfriend was so kind and made all the image files in Adobe Illustrator and then animated them with the help of his programmer friend with an Arduino Uno R3. It's a running animation because more would have been extremely difficult to do in the short amount of time I had for the doll,
my
but
God,
I
that is
think
so
it is
cool.
absolutely amazing.
Cute. Thank you so
To
much for the
attach the
5
screen
bit
to the head,
sub.
I first glue a little cardboard to the back of it and then attach a small plastic pipe that ends in a magnet to it. The second magnet will be attached to the head bag of the doll. That also means that you have to take off the face and hair to showcase the screen with the helmet, but I think that's fine since you can't see Zen's face through the helmet anyways. I then just need to plug all the cables of the screen together with the longer cables that will be hooked up to the Arduino later, and then it's time to make the last
God,
thing
here
for
we
this
go.
project because we need a case to put in all the electronics, right? So let's make a doll stand that is also a box. I first laser cut the shapes for the lid from red and black acrylic sheets. You ready for some peel off ASMR?
Yeah. Ooh, yeah. That sexy peel off. Ooh, yeah. Who else watches? Oh, I want a 3D printer. Shit.
I will place them on top of each other like
I know
this
3D
and
printing
didn't
was
even
so
recognize
cool.
my very beautiful reflection in the black acrylic. I then used some double-faced tape to bond these two acrylic sheets together. And then I cut some eyes from self-adhesive teal vinyl and will attach them to the doll stand as well. To make the actual box, my dad and I will cut 4 frames in total from foam board with my dad's milling machine that we then stack onto each other in order to build a box. My dad built the box without letting me know, so I couldn't film it, but as you can see, the
Ooh,
electronics
Mama
all fit
Huevo!
in it and it looks really nice.
Whoa, that looks
To
sick,
attach
bro.
the lid, I will glue some magnets into the frame of the box and also onto the lid. I then realized that the hole in the lid was a little bit too big for the doll stand rod, so I decided to use some of the plastic pipe again as kind of a plug and attach everything with hot glue. That worked nice. Now we only need to cover up the rough sides of the box, and for that we cut some stripes from black cardstock that we
Wow.
will simply glue around the edge of the box. To do that, I will use some contact cement again and apply it all over the cardstock stripe and also onto the edge of the box. And when the glue had dried a little, I then carefully glue the stripe onto the box. And with that, the doll stand box is done. And I'm really glad how it turned out.
Wow, it looks so good.
This way, I will be able to hide all the electronic parts for the doll. Well, except for the cables, but that's fine. Zen is a cyborg after all, so I think the technical aspect
Yeah,
will
the
be
cables
really
are
cool.
fine. It's fine.
And yeah, now I just have to wire up the last final cables to the Arduino boards
What
for
is
the
this
LED
thing? You'll
and
see.
screen. And with that, this project is finally done. Let me present to you Zentreya.
Oh my god, I'm so excited. Oh my god, that is so cool! What the fuck? Ah, that is so cool! Oh my god, she's so beautiful!
combined 250
Moonlight Jewel, you are truly a legend, a master of doll making.
hours of work from Blue and me. She is finally
Yeah,
done.
so you made an Ironmouse doll
And I'm
already.
ready for a 3-day nap now. Thank you so much, Blue, for working on this doll together with me, and also thank you so much to my dad and my boyfriend for helping me with all the technical stuff. And as always, a special thanks goes out to my patrons for the continuous
God, she's so talented. It's incredible. It's incredible. She's so talented. 250 hours of dedication. I wish I had the power and dedication to do something like that. She truly is a legend. I'm honored that she started making dolls of us. I wonder who she's gonna make next. I saw that she did a doll for a character from Demon Slayer, which was really cool. All of her dolls are incredible.